Look, it's been a whirlwind. We have phenomenal people in our organization, and everyone's just kind of lifted where they could to help digest something and open up a market. It feels very much like a startup in tech, where it's all hands on deck all the time. That's the world I come from, and it's been it's been incredible. It's been inspiring, is what it's been to watch that, and not only from the people standpoint, but also from our state and the community.
You bring a franchise that was doing a slower rebuild to Utah, an energized fan base, flush with cap space. Do you look at this offseason as an opportunity to fast track a rebuild, but make a, for lack of a better word, splash here to get your fans ready?
Look, I think we come into a really good spot. I think if you were thinking about the position to take over a team, this is probably pretty ideal, especially coming into how we're doing this. From a cap space standpoint and going into the season, I'm very aware of where we're at. I'm very aware where the market's at and the opportunities we have. And my message the whole time and our actions will definitely show that, is that my job is to back our team and to back Bill. And if you think about this group, they're incredibly resilient. Like, I was watching them lead through probably a lot of uncertainty and build and kind of stick to what they could and make it go and keep morale high, and Coach Bear and everything. And I think they're going to have a little fun now and figure out what it is that we want to go do together and have that optionality. And there's nothing I want to do more than just to support these guys.
Bill has talked about being somewhat patient in the build. How does patience work with you now that we're getting to know you?
Yeah, I mean, 3 years ago, I went through the same thing in the NBA, and I've always had a philosophy in business that if there's not clarity, just wait, and time bears most things out. And I think that where people like me, and I haven't been known for my patience, but in sports, you want to surround yourself with the smartest people and wisdom, and almost protect yourself from yourself. And so you saw we hired Chris Armstrong. Chris is someone who I've known for a really long time and I trust, and he's actually who I talk to the most on a daily basis. And he's working, you got two Armstrongs working together, and part of Chris's job is to manage me. And I've got Danny Ainge on one side managing me as well, and so it's a pretty cool spot. But that's the balance. You're managing polar opposite emotions at all times. Like, you want to win now, but you want to win for long term, and you want to create this culture. But we're young, and the future looks really bright. And I know with our other club, we're definitely playing the long game.
You talk about how fast this all moved. I mean, if you looked around and said, like, it happened, like, we're here now, and, like, this
Yeah.
is a welcome to NHL moment maybe today for you?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this is a big moment. It's a big moment. Our ownership group, and I mean, there's so many people who have probably never thought that this was possible. And I think if I could just echo, and I hope everyone sees it. I hope you're all there opening night in Utah, because we're going to be sold out this year. We'll be in the top 15 in tickets in the entire league on year one, with 7,000 seats that aren't quite set up for hockey yet. But people will be watching on the Jumbotron, and they'll be happy. And we haven't even gotten through the 30,000 list of people who have registered, which 63% of them haven't been to an event in our arena in a year, and 90% aren't Jazz season ticket holders. So if you actually think about what this is, but if you zoom out, it all makes sense. I mean, we're probably the only winter sports market that doesn't have an NHL franchise, as well as the home of most U.S. Olympic training teams. And so if you look at, we're gearing up to go over to Paris next month, hopefully to get awarded the 34 Winter Games. That would be amazing. It's all kind of lining up into how we view this moment in Utah. I think Utah is also, it's becoming really clear. We're the youngest state in the country, in the U.S. And in my career, you always bet on youth. And we're also the fastest growing. So if you look at those two, and it has been that way for a while. So if you look at both of those metrics, that's something that the NHL is going to be able to look and say, wow, like we made the right move. Yeah, so we have 30,000 season ticket deposits, and we've had to become incredibly creative with how we've divided up the tickets so that everyone, or the top of the funnel for hockey, gets to be as big as it can, because we are educating the market a little bit, similar to Vegas. And look, we're not. I mean, I grew up. My wife's from Vegas. Like, I grew up coming here all the time. Utah's 90 minutes away. Watching what NHL has done here in Las Vegas, and how it's almost plowed the way for, 2 to 3 other sports franchises, if not more to come. We're going to have that same impact.
How has owning the Jazz impacted this transition, just in terms of little hints you can give yourself when starting this hockey game?
Yeah, so I think that the one thing about the transaction that we went through, it felt eerily similar, even though that this timeline's different, but we were taking over right at the tail end of COVID. And so the uncertainty kind of felt the same, and there's really no way to prep for being thrown into professional sports. I don't know what the equivalent is, but you need to learn, and you learn quick. And my job's to be the fastest learner in the building, and that's how I look at it. And when I'm going to games, I want to sit next to Bill, and I just want to hear him talk out loud with everything that's going on. And it's the same thing with everyone else. And I want to understand every single detail that's going on in the organization. Doesn't mean I want to run it all. Doesn't mean I want to make all my decisions, but we want to be there so that when moments come up in free agency or with players or personnel, like, we can help be a sounding board and a thought partner and support the best way we can. And that's my job. And our job as an organization right now, we almost have two parts. We have the hockey side, but we've got to launch a brand. We've got to launch, we probably have 5 different construction projects going on right now, from practice facility. We just announced that we're practicing this year at the Olympic Oval, which is just west of the city. And really building out the infrastructure of what it's going to mean long term, and actually how to activate the NHL properly in our state.
What's it going to mean to you when that number 6 pick is announced and you're up on stage with whoever that might be?
I think it's going to be cool. It's going to be surreal, and I think what it means. Everyone can kind of visualize that. It's the first time. It's the first moment. But more than that, there's a family. There's a kid who's worked his entire life to get to this moment. He gets to be the very first draft pick in the Utah franchise history, and that's pretty incredible. Like, that's something that no one else is ever going to be able to say. And I've learned in life that so much of it's about the story you can tell, and that's a pretty cool story to be able to tell. And I think for all the kids that are coming out today and tomorrow, like, they're going to have an incredible story to tell.
How much do you look at Florida winning the cup? Not a lot of draft picks and making a lot of trades. You guys have a lot of cap space. How much do you kind of maybe look at that as a model of how to build a franchise?
Winning the cup's winning the cup. I think whatever model it takes to win, I think it's worth it. And that's the beauty in sports is, you watch Boston win, you watch Florida win, you see Edmonton. There's really not a playbook. And then you win, and it's like, oh, that's the playbook. And so I think that it's inspiring, especially, if you look at Florida, if you look you wouldn't naturally consider that the hotspot for hockey, and look at what's happened. And I think it's pretty inspiring.
You mentioned wanting to support your staff. So are you then, to follow up on Dan's question, are you content to let Bill play out that timeline, his ideal timeline for a rebuild? And then what does the dynamic with Chris Armstrong look like with Bill as well?
Yeah, so I don't think you set it up and say, hey, like this is a timeline. I think you're always checking in on that timeline, and you've got to be incredibly opportunistic. What's hard is when you want to be opportunistic and you either don't have cap space or you don't have assets and you don't have any room to go do that. That's a tough spot where teams get into normally after they've gone all in to try to go for it, and someone else just happens to be better or whatever happens. So I like the position that we're in, and so I think that that's something that we're always checking in on, and that's the plan till it's not the plan.
How does the dynamic with Chris and Bill look?
Yeah, so Chris is he's an incredible human. I've known him for a long time, and Bill reports to Chris, and Chris reports to me, but we really don't look at it that way. We're all partners in this, and that's how we like to build out our organization. And Chris's job is to support Bill too, and so you kind of hear this theme of support, and that's really what our jobs are in this position, is to get really smart people around. And it's not only Bill, it's Bear, it's everyone else that we've got within the organization. And I feel like my job right now is like the host of Utah. So everyone coming in, do you have a house? Are you good? Like, where is your family? When are they coming? Where do you want to play golf? Like, these are all the things that I mean, it's a very unique thing. But if you look at what it's also sitting on Chris Armstrong's play, it's very much like, how are we coordinating with the business side? How are we working on the brand and the identity to launch that and getting that set up? Obviously didn't have enough time to do it, given everything else. How is he helping coordinate all the construction projects that we've got, the practice facilities with the organization? Hockey's just one piece of the amount of work that's going on.
Ryan, you said that you knew Utah would show up for this team. Are you surprised how much they've shown up?
I'm not surprised. I think, when you have a feeling, but I mean, it's never been done, so you're not 100% sure. But we were pretty sure. I think watching and tracking the NHL and the movement it's having, I think everyone felt that with Game 7. Everyone felt that with these playoffs. And then understanding where Utah, everyone talks about population size, and Utah's growing super fast, but Utahns like to get out, and they like to go places, and they like to do stuff. And that's been incredibly inspiring, and I think that's helped us be a lot more hopeful that a little bit, if we build it, they will come. And I think that's what you're seeing. And I think Vegas, definitely, given my background here and understanding the demographics here and the people, and as I mentioned, my wife is from here or grew up here. This was very, very kind of forthcoming to what we could have.
Ryan, you've been able to utilize your assets and the fruits of your labor to enhance your home state. When there's that kind of love invested, what is this whole experience been?
Yeah, I don't think you can choose your passions in life. Like, I think we all want to say, like, hey, this is what we're after. And, I've operated, I was born in Eugene, Oregon, and then my father was a professor at University of Oregon and moved to Utah. And so I grew up there, but starting a tech company in Utah, everyone thought we had to go to the Bay Area, and we said, no, we're going to do it here. And we ended up creating number 2 tech hub in the country in Silicon Slopes. I went to school there. I met my wife there. Utah has just become something that I've always wanted to fight for and kind of help build. And you can't choose that. It's got to be in you. And it's super fulfilling. And I think being in the spot where we've been able to operate tech and now sports, it's kind of all playing out that way that, it's becoming a pretty fulfilling mission. And I get a lot of chances to either invest or participate in sports outside of Utah. I'm just not interested. I think that being able to go and build your state and actually just give something that everyone's always wanted, which is championships, it's probably something we're going to be dedicating the next 30, 40 years to. And I think it's a worthy cause.
Very quickly.
Chris Armstrong's role, and it sounded like he's the president of hockey operations, but it sounds like his role ties into the business side as well. I mean, would you kind of describe his role as like a CEO of the hockey team?
Yeah, I mean, SCG, yeah, it's a little bit of that. I mean, we don't care that much about titles. That's what everyone else cares about. But, Chris was very instrumental in working with me on in our group on getting this franchise. And it was a dream that it came up, and the opportunity to help go run it and launch, and that's it. But we need a lot of help, and we need a lot of people, and actually we're incredibly understaffed for what this is. Now we have an incredible business function, and he works with Chris Barney and Jim Olson on that side. But we're actually building this out. I mean, we're an organization that didn't exist 3.5 years ago at all. And now we've got, 2 major franchises, television networks. We own the arena and, a big piece of our MLS team there. And so I think that if you look at that all out, it's, there's not many of these organizations that are like this in the world, let alone in 3.5 years. And so Army's going to be a huge piece of this. And what I love about Army most is just there's no ego, and he's so incredibly collaborative, and he's so talented. And just watching him jump in with Bill Armstrong, and it's just been inspiring. And they're different. And, we're watching him work with Chris Barney and the rest of our crew has been incredible.
Your point about kind of having a smaller staff right now, how much are you staffing up on the business side, and how much are you kind of leading into like shared services between the two teams?
Yeah, we're working through that. It depends on what, like sales and marketing is going to be very shared, how that goes. But there's other pieces we need for hockey specific, and so we're building all of that out. And the NHL's been fabulous to work with, by the way. They've been incredibly supportive throughout this process, and for that matter, the entire league. I think every single team's reached out and said, "Hey, how can we help?" And that's really been an example of a true partnership. And we hope to be able to, for the league to just give back way more than we take.
As you try to cultivate this new fan base, how important is it to have a face, an icon, sort of a big star that you can build around?
I mean, it's one of the things I love about hockey is that it truly is a team game, and it's one of the things that is inspiring because it takes more than just one star, and there's not a lot of I in hockey, right? It's we, and so I mean we'll see. I'll leave what that's going to take up to Bill, and it's a little bit like win a championship from everything. I've had the fortune to be around a lot of champions, and you almost don't know what it takes till you get there, and you just have to bring a little more than the next person.
Brian, in your opinion, what's been the toughest challenge about starting this franchise?
The time frame. I mean, we're dropping a puck in less than 100 days. It's insane. Like no rational human beings would ever sign up for this, and I just don't think we're very rational, and so it's okay. But I've also known that no matter how much time you have, it's hard to be ready, and so if we look at how we're starting, but you always say it's about the people. I remember sitting in that ballroom in Arizona when the announcement came out and looking out at 70 people and saying, I don't think we get much more than the players and the staff, so let's go, because it's all that's what we're buying. We're really acquiring the people.
You very quickly developed a sports empire in Salt Lake. Is baseball next? And with your Vegas connections, is the A's deal build?
We are 100% focused on hockey right now. We got our hands full.
Just to go back further into your Vegas connections, I mean, how much have you looked at what they've done here and what they've built as a sports city to what you're doing in Utah?
Yeah, it's not surprising. I mean, I think that they're different because you have a different demographic. You also have a bunch of people coming in and almost making it like a little voyage. We're going to go follow the team for the weekend and that. But I think when you think about Vegas proper, at least the people that live here, those people aren't the ones that are on the strip. They're out, and it's been a really cool thing. And I think the most surprising is when you go around, you just see night stuff everywhere. Like it's almost you can't make it up. And I think that you look at the way that they've done a really good job building rinks around the city, and if you look at their youth program when they started and the rinks that they have, I mean we're not starting from zero. We have more youth playing, and we have more rinks than they had when they started. But you look at what they've been able to do, and it's a really really good model to follow. And I think the demographics will work similarly.
You mentioned the time frame. Was there ever any hesitation on your part, or was it simply the opportunities there? You got to seize it regardless.
No, we told ourselves we're not going to blink. When we talked to Gary, we just said we're here, we're ready. You let us know. And once you made that decision, then you figure it out. And there's been many times in the process, and there's going to be many coming up this summer, where we're like, holy cow, like we have a lot of work to do. And it just really comes down to the people in the community and what you're doing it for. But, I think we'll all look back if a cup's sitting there in Utah and say, hey, whatever it was worth it.
Hey, Ryan. First off, happy birthday.
Hey, thanks, man.
Second,
Jay, can you believe we're here, bro?
I cannot believe we're here. I've been saying that for 2 months.
Okay, so come here, Jay.
All right.
All right, I'm going to embarrass you.
All right.
So, Jay, what was your role in Salt Lake City for a really long time?
I was the voice of Utah hockey. I would host a podcast.
And then your playing role?
Oh, I'm the e-bug. I'm the e-bug for the Utah Grizzlies.
For how long?
26 years. My question, besides saying happy birthday and thank you for everything, have you decided, like on a character, did you say, hey, Bill, let's draft this type of character? Is there a certain kind of character person you want, or do you just know most hockey players fill that role?
I think we're aligned. I think we've had a lot of that conversation, and it's a little bit of vibe of our organization. And Bill knows where and how to. I mean, he's been around enough to see what good locker rooms look like and bad locker rooms look like, and and with every kid, like you don't know what you're. I mean, these kids are 18 years old, 19 years old. Their lives. There's way more of their life ahead of them as an adult, and so I think that you're trying to get the best character you can and try to anticipate that they're going to get better as they get older. And that's and then surround them with mentors and people that can help lead the way and be instrumental in their growth. And I don't think that's different than any one of our parents wanted for us. And so it's almost like, how do we back ourselves into that and say, hey, every one of those kids has a family that they're likely going, okay, they're going to Utah. What do I wish that was sitting in that locker room with them? And that's what we got to go build out.
Ryan, you've always been bullish on Utah. What can you do in this first season to show the rest of the league that passion so they can be like, oh yeah, like that's why Ryan's bullish?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's going to be super loud to play in Utah. I think that's the one thing that everyone can expect. The way that our arena's built, even though that they're, on the upper bowl, the slant or the way that the steepness of our arena is really not only, in a vertical way, probably not able to be built like that again, but if you think about basketball, it's one of the loudest arenas there. And so what we're trying to do with our remodel over the next 2 summers is keep that same pitch, but add hockey. And I think when we're done, it's going to be something that no one's seen. because the natural thing is just to widen everything so that it's easy to move in and out. And what we're going to try to do is use a little bit of technology to keep that same verticality. And it should be pretty exciting. So I think how loud it is, and then just how nice of a place it is. I mean, when we had the NBA All-Star Game there last year, I think people had gone through Utah, but anyone who's stayed in Utah, they're like, wow, this is like wellness. This is where I need to go to heal. You wake up every day and you're looking at those mountains and you're going, this is good for the soul. But it's always been that way. I just now there's places to work and things to do. It's gotten a little more up tempo, and I think that it's easy to get around. It's just a nice place to live. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be able to have a couple places outside of Utah, and I can't wait to get to Utah and get home every chance I get. It's just a phenomenal state, and it's a little bit of where stuff still gets done there. People can disagree, but they actually can agree on one thing, is to help the state and move it along. And if I look across the U.S., we just don't have that everywhere. And I think a lot of people are kind of sick of that and saying, hey, I want to go to somewhere where, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or whatever else, like, we can still, like, be one. And that's pretty exciting.
We're going to take one last question before Ryan. Sorry, me and before our last question.
Yeah, Brian, any early observations on differences between how the NBA functions and the NHL functions?
I mean, there's a lot of differences. Free agency, the cap, but they're unique. I mean, there's bigger teams and smaller teams, and I think that is a big difference of how many people you have. Youth, definitely, NBA is a lot more star focused. There's just a lot. Everything's different, but everything's also the same. You're still trying to build teams. You're still trying to build for the long term. The decisions you make today, tomorrow will always come. And those are the similarities that it comes with. But I think we're going to see. I'm going to learn a lot of other differences that are maybe there or not there, and so we're excited for the challenge. Yeah, one more.
You said earlier there's a lot of work to do, and obviously there's a lot. There are many races to win until the first game. Which of those races, in your mind, is the toughest to win in everything that you have to do?
I think just being ready. I think getting all the guys there, their families there, everyone relocated, TV set up, the arena's right. I mean, we got 2 new locker rooms going in. We've got the practice facility going in right now. Schedules have seemed to work out, which is a miracle. Get this phase, I look at October and it's like every other night we're popping. And so, and then, honestly, it's like I got 5 little kids and we're sitting here going, how are we going to manage all this? And the best part is we've got incredible people, and our ownership group is all in. It's the same group that came in on basketball, is in on hockey. No one knew, and it's been pretty incredible. And so I think there's probably more excitement than there is fear at this point. And then obviously over the next 8 to 12 months, we'll roll out the branding and all of that as we get everything cleared with the NHL. All right, thanks.